Hey everyone, Adam Shaw here from Bravura Media Company. Today we're going to show you guys a small collection we have consisting of vintage New York City maps. We are going to show you this, and we're also going to tell you that we have a New York City historical blog up and running that actually focuses on these maps as well as many other historical topics pertaining to New York City. So with that in mind, let's dive right in and take a look at all these beautiful maps that we have at Bravura Media. Here is our first map. It is a map of New York City that was produced in 1874. It is a bird's eye perspective map in that we get to see the changes in elevation, the building architecture, the boats in the river. We get to see bridge architecture. We get to see a lot of different details. So let's zoom in, kind of investigate. We can see a couple of buildings that are detailed very well. The bird's eye perspective lets us see the docks and the ships. The harbor. This is the Hudson. You got the Brooklyn area right over here. You got the Brooklyn Bridge right here, the East River, and we can just, this gives a nice perspective of what New York City looked like back in 1874. I really love these bird's eye perspective maps. You get to see kind of the the evolution of a city and how it has grown over time. Let's move on. We have another map of New York City that was produced in 1879. It is a Rogers and Peak Company map. It is a bird's eye map. And we don't get to see the building architecture as much detail as we saw in the one before, but we do get to see the Brooklyn Bridge. It is a much more elevated preview of the city in that we get to see the entire length of Manhattan Island. We can see Central Park off in the distance. We see parts of Jersey and New York over on the left. Certainly, the ships are detailed throughout the Hudson and the East River, and we can see some details, but not as much. This map kind of wanted to give the full perspective of what New York City looked like, even with the avenues and the occasional detail in places like here is Trinity Church right here. So let's move on and check out the next map that we have in our collection. Here is a map from 1890. It is of New York City and Brooklyn. It is an overhead 2D map that focuses more specifically on the streets and how they're formed on Manhattan as well as down in Brooklyn. And it gives you kind of a preview of the different regions of the area. Here is a new U.S. Naval Yard right here in Brooklyn, right across from Manhattan. We can see the docks and the piers that existed back in the 1890s all along the Hudson as well as the East River. Here's the Brooklyn Bridge labeled. Again, you know, these are street labels and more specifically regional labelings for this 1890 map of New York City. So let's move on to the next one. This one is a bit older map of New York City. This was produced in 1778, 2 years after the Declaration of Independence. We can see Manhattan Island right here. The portion of the probably busiest part of Manhattan is at the southern tip of the island, right down here. And you can see how barren the rest of Manhattan Island was back in 1778. We can see that this cartographer labeled the changes in elevation, the vegetation, and these are like a singular route going through the island of Manhattan. We can see the East River labeled and the Hudson over on this side. New Jersey is labeled right over there. So definitely an older map of New York City that we have in our collection over here at Bravura Media. So let's move on. The next map is, again, an overhead 2D map of Manhattan. It's focusing on the different districts. You can see the numbers labeled here for the different districts, and as well as the street names labeled throughout. This map was produced in 1865, and it wants to give you the details of the street names all over Manhattan, as well as the different regions. I really like this map. The fact that a lot of streets are labeled. Here's I always check for Mulberry Street. That's a Little Italy district right here. I know that from personal experience because I've been down there. But, you know, I really enjoy... Here's the Wall Street Ferry. This is a ferry line that goes from Brooklyn back to New York City. That's really great that the ferry lines are labeled throughout. So, definitely another map that we have that's very interesting. It was produced in 1865. Moving on, we have another map of New York City that was produced in 1879. It is a bird's eye perspective map of Manhattan, and we can see the Brooklyn Bridge. It is a much more level area, bird's eye perspective, and that's not very elevated like we saw before. We could see the far distance, but we don't get to see a lot of details far back there. This map centers on, obviously, lower Manhattan, which was much more developed than the northern parts around Central Park. So we get to see, we get to see some details in the building architecture and how, the city looked back in the late 1800s down the lower part of Manhattan. We get to see the docks and the piers. I think that looks really amazing down at the southern part of New York. Same over here, right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. We get to see a lot of perspective on that. We even get to see really good perspective on Governor's Island and the different ships that were going through up and down the East River. So definitely some great maps we have in our collection. So we at Bravura Media actually have all these maps and much more New York City historical content throughout our blog. We have a historical New York City blog. We have articles, vintage photographs, illustrations. We have a lot of different content. So if you like that sort of thing, definitely check out our blog. You can do that by going down below this video, down in the description, and clicking our link, and it'll bring you right to our blog, which you can subscribe if you enjoy it. You can do that by going to the right of the blog and hitting the follow button, and you'll be updated on all our new content. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. We update daily. We upload a new video every day, and we explore old vintage maps and historical content. So definitely subscribe, comment, and like, and I will see you guys soon. Okay, take care. All right, bye.